Welcome to Leadership Synergized, the podcast where we learn from leaders who've been there, done that, and are still showing up to serve. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. Today's episode is especially meaningful as we celebrate leadership. I'm honored to be joined by Dr. Chris Baldwin, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources at Westfield Washington Schools. He's an educator, coach, and servant leader with more than 30 years of experience. Today, we're going to talk about people-centered leadership, growth, culture, transformation versus transaction. I had a chance to sit down in 2025 and do some live discussions with Dr. Baldwin, and I know you're going to learn from this wonderful, wonderful leader. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Smith, and as you can see on the screen, so honored to have our special guest today, Mr. Chris Baldwin. Chris is an assistant superintendent responsible for human resources at Westfield Washington School Corporation. So excited to have a man of his experience, educational background, athletic coaching, and we're going to talk about some topics near and dear to Chris's heart. Mr. Baldwin, a few weeks back, we were talking about what was our topic today, what would be relevant for leadership. And, we decided we were going to talk about transactional and transformational leadership. And what a great relevant manner, because I think you just talked about Westfield growing and keeping the focus on relationship. It's really easy as a leader, as a worker in any aspect, education, manufacturing, service, doesn't matter, government, to get pulled into the transactional setting. And in many aspects, we've lost the opportunities for that transformation where we can really talk a little bit about your experience. I know a few weeks back as we were preparing, you were talking a bit about your growth from and appreciation from being that transactional leader to where you stand today.
Yeah, Dr. Smith. Yeah, we talked about that quite a bit. And just to talk about my journey a little bit, first of all, all of us, I think, in leadership positions, what I've been very lucky in my time is to have mentors and people that have been in my life that have been supportive and role models for me throughout. And we all have those people that we appreciate, going back to high school coaches and teachers. And, I still talk to my college professors and all those different people. And then mentors I had as I first started teaching. But, it's easy to look back after 31 years. And I look back at my first couple years of teaching and coaching. And at that point, I was very transactional. I was not transformational. And I don't know, it was just the immaturity and of age. When it came to coaching, especially, it was more focused on record and the end result than the process or the relationship building. And it really didn't change for me. And my first couple of years, I was a middle school coach, and then I had the opportunity to go up to Carmel High School and coach with some people that had coached for a long time. And Keith Fiedler being one of them, he's unfortunately passed, but he was one of my role models that eventually became the head coach at Carmel. But I watched him, and his players just loved him. He was hard on them and he pushed them. They loved him, and he was transformational. And he sat me down one day and just talked to me about that. And my whole mindset changed at that point, and becoming more transformational and focusing on the person and not the results, and forming those relationships, and then understanding that by doing that, it's going to lead to better results. I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of humbleness in my kind of attitude at that time. And I've since, again, I wish I could go back and change during that time, but becoming transformational and really forming positive relationships with my students and my players, and forming those relationships was a huge shift. And it was more fulfilling for myself too, to do that. And I got better reactions out of my players and out of my students as well. So it was just a coming of age, I think, that all of us go through. And it took me a couple of years to do that, but it was really because of the people that modeled it. And I saw the success they had by doing it that way. Another thing, Dr. Smith, I think is important for anybody coming into, I would say, any position, that what I did my first couple years was I was somebody that really wasn't myself. I tried to copy maybe coaches that I had before. And I think it's a big mistake people make is and I don't think I had the confidence to be myself yet. I just modeled what I had seen and what I had been subjected to kind of during that or had as models. And it really wasn't who I was as a person, but I didn't know any different. And then I realized I could be myself, let my personality come out, be transformational, form positive relationships. For example, the first couple of years, I was more of I'd say a yeller kind of thing, like more outwardly during coaching and things like that. That's not really who I am as a person. So I realized you can just be who you are, and that's okay. And don't try to be somebody else that you're not. Everybody has their own way of approaching things, and it's okay. So when I changed to become that and let my personality come in and be that, I totally changed, I think, as a transformational leader versus a transactional leader. I think I talked to you too a little bit. It really happened for me as well when I had coached at Carmel High School, and you're talking Carmel High School football, very, tradition, very successful program. Winning a lot of pressure. Yeah, I wasn't the head coach, but an assistant coach, but you feel the pressure because you want to do well, right? You know the pressure that you're getting. And then I went back and I coached at the middle school a couple years, my last couple years in Carmel. And that's when I truly became transformational, understanding the whole process that my job, whereas previously I was a middle school coach and it was all to me all about winning. Well, that's not the focus, shouldn't be the focus of your middle school program. It should be developing players that want to continue to play, right? You want them to keep playing and be part of the program later. And that wasn't me. But when I went back, I had seen what the goal was, and it was so different for me to be transformational and form relationships and have with every kid, every single player, not just the starters, right? I think another mistake is that too. You don't focus on the starters. Transformational coaches focus on every single kid in the program and make sure that they want to come back the next year and play, if that makes sense. Same thing as a teacher. I want every student to want me as a teacher that next year because I formed that positive relationship with them. So again, it's all about the people. That's the journey I went on as I matured and saw others. And it's all because of the mentors and role models I had that were good people that I made that change.
You just described the journey for a lot of us, I think. Other than the size of school and the coach, the sport of coaching, I can relate exactly step by step with everything that you stated. And I go back in around 1996 as head baseball coach. We had won like 8 out of 10 sectionals in the single class, which for a small school, pretty big deal in the single class system. And I guess it still is today, although I'm not much of a fan of the multi-class in that regard. But just going back, I can remember we had won 8 of 10. We had a rebuilding year, only won a few games, and we were taking strides that second year after our last sectional championship, tournament championship. And we were competing there in that final game. And, I gave a bunt sign from the third base coaching box, and one of our players, one of our outfielders, actually by the name of Jeremy, struck out trying to bunt. Here I am, right, the young coach, just getting all over him, and he just looked at me, tears coming down his face, and said, "Coach, I tried." And that was a moment that stopped me in my tracks. That said, it's more about transformation than it is transactional in that regard. And it's amazing the moments that we have as leaders. And to your point, that I could go back 20 years prior to that time and think what time I lost in that particular regard in that setting. So thank you, Mr. Baldwin, for sharing. But just a bit about transactional leadership, right? Maybe we just build a little bit of a characteristic around it. Transactional leadership, speaking of experiences, someone in particular of myself here, very task-oriented, right? Got all the lists down. How many did I get done today? Checking them off, boom, 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 right? In that piece, or trying to keep things in a particular order, or as you said, process. All of those things are important, but transactional focus tends to overcome the relationship piece and ends up resulting perhaps in that short-term gain, and then one can miss out on the long-term cultural development you want to have for sustainment, which actually ends up working in a catch-22. A couple of examples I would share, Mr. Baldwin, then I'll let you jump in. as well. But you think about task oriented, it's all about the process and working to get the process to be perfect. I found that when you become more transformational, the process excellence tends to grow on its own without all the stress and the headache and the lost inefficiencies through non-value.
Totally agree with that. And as you started, it's easy in all of our positions to get caught in there's transactional pieces we have to do, but I catch myself some days where all I've done is transactional and I need to get out and do some transformational or just stop. And I think we just need to stop and say, I'm the type, you just need to go talk to somebody, right? Let's have it's a conversation with somebody, because you can easily get lost in all that. It's about, contacting them, communicating with people, connecting with them. And as you stated, the transactional can get you short term, but it doesn't get you long-term commitment or people to buy in long term with what you're doing, because it's, the quote about nobody knows how much you know until they know how much you care, right? I mean, that gets thrown around a lot, but I think it's truly the case. If you don't, my first a few days on the job at Shamrock Springs as an elementary principal, I met with every single employee over the summertime just to form. That's the most important piece, is to form that, because then you're going to make decisions later on that maybe everybody doesn't agree with, but at least they know you're making them from a transformational aspect or a caring background. They know you as a person, that you believe you made a decision for what's in the best interest of as many as you possibly can. And as opposed to making those decisions in a vacuum where they don't know you, then it's leads to, people not maybe agreeing or becoming disgruntled. And that, again, that's a short-term thing versus a long-term thing. I've been very lucky in why as you can tell, I'm not one to change jobs very often, or at least change districts. I've been at I'm very unique, I think. And I mean, some stay a long time, but you see a lot of change in administration, and that's just not me. And the reason is I really, really value the relationships I have with the people. And I think that's helped me quite a bit in my job in human resources, because people know that they can reach out to me if they're dealing with a family situation or something that, that I want it to be that they can email me or call me directly. And just because I'm an administrator at central office, they're not afraid to do that. And that happens a lot. I think that goes from the time I've been here, knowing how we've handled situations and that we truly are a family and value that. Now, if you don't model that and have examples of that and get out and talk to people, it's a reason why, Dr. Smith, I go out and substitute teach every month in a building. And I love doing it because I like being around the kids. And it's not, I don't put it out on Twitter. It's not about me doing it. It's really, it gives me opportunities to talk to teachers and be in their element. It's not like what they do every day. Don't get me wrong. I get to sub and leave at the end of the day, and after I write my note of how great the kids were. But I think that's important as leaders that we do that, and that's how you connect with the employees. So, but as you said, it's very easy to get in a trap of being only transactional, and you get in a hurry and you get frustrated and you got to slow down. I even have a note on my computer that just says a couple things. One of them is, don't forget to communicate with everybody. I've been burned in the past because I didn't take the time to sit down and just think, who am I missing? Who have I not communicated with? Because as we all know, communication when it comes to problems is probably, I'd say 90 to 95% of the problem is because you didn't communicate well. It's not what you did, it's because you didn't communicate it very well. And then number two, relationships. Like get out of your office and go talk to people and go do that. That's what's very important. Those three, it's that connect, it's that communicate, contact, that I think you have to do. But it's not easy to do. It takes time. It takes time to build that as well. When you go to any new place, I think that's the first thing that you should do. My first meeting as the principal at Shamrock Springs, I've tried to mentor new principals. It's not about policies and procedures. You have to have those, right? But that's not what your first meeting should be. It should be who you are and what you believe in about you as a person. And I think that's important. And then you make sure you understand your employees and who they are as a person. Who is their family? Even though we've gotten big, I want to write notes to people if they're dealing with a death in the family or they had a child. All those things that I think are important that you should still do and not forget that, if that makes sense. I just think it's important to do that, because as you get big, like I said, and you lose that, then it's not a place that I would want to be if that's the case. So that's why I stay here, because it's the people that we have around us that have the same vision, the same mission. I mean, my HR, I couldn't have a better human resources department, because all the people that are in the group, and that includes all central office, are there about customer service and supporting people. And that's great to have that.
I love it. The passion comes out. And for those of you watching, you're watching Leadership Synergized, and we're talking with Chris Baldwin, the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources at Westfield, Washington, located in Westfield, Indiana. I say located there, but it's the fastest growing school corporation in the state currently, and has been for the past several years, and all signs indicate it's going to be for the next several years. But we're talking about transactional versus transformational leadership. And you're watching Leadership Synergized Plus, and I know you're getting a great deal out of this. And actually, if you look behind me over my shoulder and still, that T is for transformation. Too many times as humans, we limit ourselves in the natural to talk about transitioning. Thank you again, my friend. I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, God bless you too, Dr. Smith. And again, thanks for being transformational in my life. I'm truly say that it's very special, and I appreciate that the relationship we formed over the last few years.
Thank you for watching Leadership Synergized, Leadership Synergized Plus. This is where you can talk to people and learn from leaders from all walks of life, various industries, and hopefully help you as you put together your leadership toolbox. Until next time, I'm Kevin Smith, your host. Thank you again to Mr. Chris Baldwin. God bless you.
Wow, what a powerful conversation with Dr. Baldwin, who reminded us that leadership isn't about titles, that it's about people, relationships, and service, always. From navigating rapid growth to protecting culture and community, Chris shared wisdom every leader can apply right now. Thank you for joining us on Leadership Synergized, where leaders from all walks of life help you build your leadership toolbox. I'm Kevin Smith. Until next time, lead with intention, serve with heart, and never forget, leadership is influence. God bless, my friend.